said, this grid set by the second fastest times in qualifying, which a couple of tweaks. There's been a couple of grid penalties been put in as well for a couple of drivers. Car 6, which is Richard Amos, has had a grid penalty. And also so has car 41, which is Tom Smith. So those two cars were starting further back than they would have been originally. So here's the grid then for race number 2 of the Mazda MX-5 Super Cup of the weekend. It is Jack Harding who starts on pole position by virtue of his best second fastest time. He'll start alongside race 1 winner yesterday, Sam Smith, in car number 1. It's Patrick Fletcher and John Langridge on the second row of the grid again from James Cousins and Will Blackwell Chambers. Then Richard Amos, who incredibly, no, he shouldn't be 7th, he should be, he's further back on the grid. It's Braden Fletcher who should be 7th on the grid. And then it's Paul Sheard in 8th, because I think Richard Amos has got a 10-place grid penalties, he's further back. So it's Braden Fletcher 7th, Paul Sheard at 8th. But we'll talk you through the rest of the grid as we go through. So it should be 9th place for Luke Whitworth, 10th for Nicholas Dunn, 11th for Tom Selden, 12th for Clive Powles, 13th for Nick Rutter ahead of Martin Canning, then James Warrior and Lee Britton. Then 17th is where you find Richard Amos ahead of Kevin Sylvain in 18th place. Then we go to Lee Britton in 19th place, so 16th, ahead of then Richard Kevin Sylvain and Martin Tolliver, and then Tom Smith. Then it's Xavier Brooke and Declan Lee, Christopher Richardson and Matt Pickford, followed by George Grant and Simon Fleet, Alex Miller, Will Morris, Bruce Robinson and Seamus Haney to round out the top 30, and then Stephen Yu, Martin Heath, Scott Wright, Clive Chisnell and Liz Walton. So all 35 cars, we believe at least, we think are back out on the track, because we speculate, because there was of course the incident, if you watched yesterday, where Richard Amos unfortunately lost control of his car under braking into the complex at Rocket, and the unfortunate driver which he collected was Nick Dunn. So both cars were out on the spot, and then we had to have a late sort of mid-race safety car in order to get things together. Now Richard Amos's car, which is just going through into Rocket, the white car heading out of it now, that car is back on the grid. In terms of Nick Dunn, he should be starting in P10. Let's look at the order. So there's Jack Harding, there's Sam Smith and Patrick Fletcher. That's John Langridge, James Cousins, Will Blackwell Chambers. Then it's Braden Fletcher. That is Paul Sheard. And yes, he is there. So Nick Dunn there with the Mazda MX-5, the white and orange car with the red front. That is Nick Dunn. So incredible work by both BC Cars Motorsport for Richard Amos and Paul Sheard Autosport for Nick Dunn to get both of those cars back out. And we still have a full quota of 35 Super Cup cars, which is excellent to see. So the championship battle so far is mainly between these three cars on screen. Jack Harding number 43, defending champion Sam Smith number 1, and Patrick Fletcher number 29. They, along with James Cousins in the blue, orange and black car which went through the shop there, number 24, have all taken at least one race win this year. Patrick Fletcher has 3 to his name. Smith, as courtesy of yesterday, now has 2, and Jack Harding and James Cousins both have 1. So they'll be looking to take full advantage of that as best they can, as the cars weave their way from side to side. Other drivers to watch, of course, are going to be John Langridge in 4th position, the grey and white car with the green headlights. That car, he's in his first race weekend with a new team, because after unfortunately, we learned of the demise of the Blink Motorsport squad, sadly. So hopefully, everyone involved is doing well. That team, he's now switched teams across to Hills Motorsport. So he's now teammates with the likes of James Cousins and Declan Lee, and also the driver who's not here, Adam Bezel. And they're really feeling an impact, because he's already put the car 4th on the grid for both races, and he looked pretty strong yesterday with a couple of top 5. Also watch for Will Blackwell Chambers, who's been a former Mark 1 rival of John Langridge and a former double champion in Mark 1s. Started to find his groove now. He was quite happy coming from 16th on the grid to 6th yesterday. Felt really good with the cars. Now he's starting higher up the grid now, 6th. He might well make a bigger impact and could even be a contender for a strong top 5, maybe even a podium if he makes a good start now. Paul Sheard also making one of his welcome cameos back onto the grid. Usually he's running several cars in the paddock, but he started to jump into one of his own cars for this weekend in car number 118. He starts from 8th on the grid. And also watch out for some of the top drivers who are a bit further up the grid. Tom Selden's had a good run so far. He's in the Luke Herbert car for his Luke Herbert team racing machine. So, race number 2 here at Anglesey, all set to get underway for the Mazda MX-5 Super Cup. Is it going to be 2 from 2 for Sam Smith, or will his rivals manage to beat him into submission and take a victory? Well, Jack Harding's managed to get the jump on from the front row, from pole position into the race leaders. They turn through turn 1 for the first time. They're already 3 abreast of the mid-pack between Xavier Brooke, Tom Smith and Declan Lee. It's probably not going to work. wet, someone's going to have to take to the grass, and someone did a little bit further in front, but they all pile their way into the banking for the first time, and it's Jack Harding who leads then, Sam Smith in second place, Patrick Fletcher third, but it's fourth for John Langridge, and up to fifth already past James Cousins has gone Will Blackwell Chambers as the pack heads their way through Church, and look at the way Sam Smith already is on the prowl. He's on it now, isn't he? Look at this, going to the inside line, and immediately not hanging around, side by side for the lead, down through the school corner for the first time as the pack charged its way through the back straight towards the complex, and down the outside goes Sam Smith for the lead. Two of the three championship contenders looking for it, but Sam Smith's run wide, he runs too deep, gets oversteer on the exit of the corner, and just slots in front of Patrick Fletcher, who nearly collected him. It's cars in the pack going every which way as they go deep on the run-off area behind, and I think something's happened behind, we think, because the camera's gone all over the place. What's happened? Oh, one car's gone around. That's Luke Whitworth who's been tagged. So Luke Whitworth gets back going again, but he's down to last and 35th positions to try and make up some more positions. So moving through go the leaders. One car that's lost out from the start is James Cousins, starts in 5th position, down to about 8th because he's lost out by a couple of spots. Also involved, it appears to be, is the 13 car, that's Tom Selden. That is the ex-championship winning Luke Herbert car, which Luke took to 3 titles in the last few years, but he's now dropped down the order, as now Luke has now gone to becoming a team boss rather than a driver, and now Tom Selden gets the responsibility of being the man that drives the ex-championship winning car, which is quite daunting, but certainly trying to do the best, and he might have got involved in some incidents before the start of the race. There goes James Cousins up the inside of Paul Sheard into the left-hander at the bus stop. And also, when they're still looking pretty strong, is Nick Dunn, who will be just relieved to be running again after he was tagged by a slightly out of control Richard Amos at the start of, in the middle of yesterday's first race. So the end of the first lap here at Anglesey for the MX-5 Super Cup. Harding leads the way by 0.4 of a second from Sam Smith in second place, and it's Patrick Fletcher third, John Langridge fourth, and he's about to get into it with his old sparring partner for the Mark 1s, Will Blackwell Chambers. He's had a good start up to fifth, one spot from where he started. Braden Fletcher's having a great weekend so far in terms of getaways from the line. He's in the Paddock Motorsport prepared car in sixth. Paul Sheard up to 7th, James Cousins is in 8th position, Nick Dunn is 9th, and Clive Powell, who is currently the top club class driver, rounds out the top 10 runners at the moment. Going deep into the corner against John Langridge, and he might well lose the 4th place from Will Blackwell Chambers. I think he might have gone deep into that corner to get the inside for the next one, but what it's done with Blackwell Chambers trying to attack is allowed Braden Fletcher up the inside and goes, thank you, Will, I'll take that if you don't mind, up into 5th position. So good stuff from Braden. Of course, his older brother Kelvin, along with fellow Paddock Motorsport team boss Martin Plowman, are at Donington Park this weekend running their own Bentley GT3 car in the British GT Championship. The second weekend they've been running it after taking it over from JRM. So best of luck to those two at Donington Park this weekend, but their squad also out in action here at Anglesey in the MX-5 Super Cup and the MX-5 Club and Championship. They've got Dan Blake on their books as well. We'll see them up next to the Club and Championship as the pack again makes its way out of the hairpin back towards the bus stop once more for the end of lap number 2. 20-minute race. We've had 3.5 minutes already, so everyone's starting to settle in now to a nice pace. And also making some progress from where he started on the grid is Richard Amos there, just the white car at the back of the field. He's the car that looks identical to the one that's currently in second place with Sam Smith at the wheel, both teammates. Richard Amos at the moment is, I think, pace-wise so far this year, comfortably the fastest club class driver in the field. So Harding's gap is now still 0.3 of a second. Sam Smith now takes the fastest lap of the race, and the first proper flying lap at racing speeds. Still Fletcher second, Langridge still 4th, Fletcher up to 5th now, as in Braden Fletcher. Past Will Blackwell Chambers, who's down to 6th. James Cousins is back up to 7th, past Paul Sheard. Then Nick Dunn and Clive Powell. And Richard Amos making progress already up to 11th. He's past Kevin Sylvain. And now his next target will be Clive Powell, who's immediately in front of him. He will looking to take full advantage as they come back into the Rocket Complex now for the 3rd time. All the cars here, Mark III MX-5s, will run the same spec Avon tyres. They run gas shocks, they run an open exhaust system, all a dedicated ECU remap as well, to make sure they all run as evenly as possible. And you do get some cars that will either run the Mark III or what's called the Mark 3.5 facelifted front bumpers. So you can tell the differences with the slightly more aggressive, sort of sharper pointier headlights and the wider front grille. That's the 3.5 car. The example of which is Richard Amos getting past the Mark III front bumpered Clive Powell's car, and that's a change for the club class lead. So into the club class lead from deep in the pack goes Richard Amos. Meanwhile, Jack Harding coming under quite immense pressure from Sam Smith here as they come out of the left-hander onto the pit straight to start lap 4. And so far on that lap last time by, Smith was about a tenth quicker, so fairly, but that said, fairly evenly matched between them at the moment. Jack Harding, of course, has come so close to the championship. He started properly racing in the Super Cup back in 2015, but since 2016 has pretty much become a prominent front runner, and since then, several times, apart from last year when he only made a single cameo appearance at Donington Park, where he still won a race, he's been trying year after year to win the MX-5 Super Cup, and he's either had just so much adversity from the likes of Tom Roach and James Blake Baldwin and Luke Herbert and other top drivers that just have been quite evenly matched, and just being able to grab the results when Jack's had bad luck and the results hasn't gone this way. And where's Will Blackwood Chambers off to? Will Blackwood Chambers either outbreaks himself or has a complete failure of something, but off the road goes number 18. And I have to admit, I thought it was Will Blackwood Chambers that went off yesterday. It was actually Richard Amos, of course, that had the incident with Nick Dunn. But where on earth was he off to? Will Blackwood Chambers recovers onto the circuit. I think he's even got back on the road exactly where he was. So, yeah, he's only lost one spot. So he's actually rejoined a position behind where he went off, which was back in... He was starting for lap in 6th, rejoined in 7th. He's only lost one position. So... he recovers, and I'm not sure that's quite the way he took the Rocket Complex, but Will certainly have given himself a fright after that and then got going again. And then possibly Nick Dunn wasn't too far behind either. I must have thought, oh no, not again, not what happened in race 1 yesterday. But thankfully it hasn't, and Will Blackwood Chambers took straight onto the grass to make sure that he was getting in the way of no one. At the moment, Sam Smith is finding Jack Harding in his way right now, and he wants to try and get past for a lead if he can. Still staying in close contention. I was saying about how Jack Harding has come close to the championship year after year and been denied it several times, but he might be denied the lead here as he comes through turn 1. Might get slightly elbowed wide on the exit of the left-hander towards the banking. Harding will have the inside line for the next corner. He stuck it out around the outside through the left-hander. But now as they turn right, exiting the banking back onto the straight, and 2 was on the grass for Sam Smith. He's not giving up this outside line, is he? He's really going for it on the outside, down towards the right-hander at Church. Nose to tail for the lead between Jack Harding, one of the most successful drivers in the Super Cup. He's got the most podiums in Super Cup history out of anyone else. Whereas Sam Smith is the defending champion with number 1 on the door and on the windscreen. He's going for number 1 in the race. Round the outside, on the inside for school corner, but you're on the outside line for the left hand of the complex at Rocket, and straight on outbraking. So they both outbrake themselves into the Rocket complex, looking at each other. And that Patrick Fletcher thinks, hold on boys, I want to play with this one too. So it's now 3 for the lead between the 3 main championship contenders early on in this race. This is a superb race it's turned into. It was quite a calm start, first half of the race. Now all of a sudden it's gone straight up all the way up to 11. This is brilliant stuff. So Sam Smith then takes the lead. There was no contact between them either, so just simply both of them watching each other, forgot their braking points, and both drifted off wide. And Patrick Fletcher thought it must be Christmas and his birthday come all at once. Down the back straight on the Tom Price straight, and up to 4th in the background, I can also tell you, is Braden Fletcher. So what a great run he's having in the number 10 Paddock Motorsport car. There he is. Well, he was 4th, but there goes John Langridge repassing him into the hairpin. So that's a nice little battle going on here. But if these 3 in front can carry on scrapping amongst each other, and if these 2 can work together in 4th and 5th, it might be a 5-car scrap for the lead. See Will Blackwood Chambers in the white and red car in the background, just behind James Cousins in 6th position. Looks like he's suitably recovered after his problems outbraking himself at Rocket. So, about 11 minutes to go in this race. We're not even hit halfway in this Super Cup race, and there's been some great action already. So it's Sam Smith now hits the front. Jack Harding closes back up through the banking. He might get a nice toe here and try and get himself back past Sam Smith here. There's Patrick Fletcher, 3-time winner this year, took 2 victories at Croft, 1 at Silverstone. Doesn't want to race it, and wasn't able to come up with a victory yesterday. Finished 3rd behind these 2. Jack Harding still in the slipstream. Also, John Langridge having a strong race in 4th. He now has Braden Fletcher keeping him company now after those 2 briefly swapped positions. And they've both made the corner this time, which is a relief. So I'm sure both Luke Herbert, who's watching on preparing Jack Harding, and Brian Chandler, who's watching on for Sam Smith, probably had hearts in their mouths when that happened a lap ago. But thankfully their blood pressure's gone down a bit better this time, so we're not causing them heart palpitations this time. Both skating off the road. I should mention, of course, Jack Harding, one of his main rivals over the last few years, has been Luke Herbert. And there was a point when they weren't really that fond of each other, but they seem to have put that all beyond them, and now they've decided to work together. Because before the start of the season, Jack Harding was going to run with Paddock Motorsport, but then on the eve of the first race of the season on the Friday night. He actually switched teams late to Luke Herbert Racing, of all teams he would have chosen, and amazingly it seems to have paid off. So, and off the road's gone George Grant. Off the road's gone George Grant in car 69. The Clapham North machine is off the road. I can't quite tell exactly where it is, but I think first and foremost that's the sight we want to see. George Grant out of the car. It looks as though he's given the tyres a bit of a thump. So out strides George. Over the tyres he clambers, and he seems to be at least on the surface okay. I'm sure he'll quickly go to the medical office just to be quickly checked over to make sure he is a-okay. As that happens, I'm sure we'll get a yellow flag at wherever that incident took place. I want to say it's possibly, I can't quite tell exactly where it is. It's either here at Church or it's up at Peel, one of the two. But either way, right, yellow flags, I think it's on the exit of Church, that's where the yellow flags are. So yeah, no passing on that part, but they might be able to get green flags on the approach into the Rocket Complex. So Jack Harding did have to back off a little bit to ensure he was staying within the rules. Patrick Fletcher is in a bit of no man's land in third, but he might get joined by both John Langridge and Braden Fletcher shortly, because he hasn't quite kept pace with the top two. Leaders head through. Oops, off the road's gone another one of the Luke Herbert Racing cars. That's Lee Britton, who's coming to the series this year fresh from karting. So a baptism of fire, bounds his way back onto the circuit. That is exiting Church, and just before school actually on the back straight. So either that's been contact with somebody, or he simply just lost it on the back end, exiting Church on the grass, and the car's rotated onto the infield. But either way, it looks like he's got back going again, trouble-free. So it's a bit tricky out there for some drivers in this second race, as Will Blackwood Chambers looks with a little sneaky peek up the inside of James Cousins. They're going to go side by side for sixth as they come down towards the left-hander at the bus stop, but James Cousins slots back in front and says, Will Blackwood Chambers, you have to try again next time. Up through the bus stop again. Now down towards the left-hander at turn one. James Cousins, who's quite a sensation ever since he joined the MX-5 paddock with Hills Motorsport, starting the Super Series, doing a couple of strong results there. He's made his debut at the end of the 2019 season in the Super Cup, and actually scored a really couple of solid results. And then last year showed his premise in the field as well. Nick Dunn's looking strong this weekend as well, one of his better weekends too. Now that's interesting, in the club class you're spotted there, Clive Powers has got back past Richard Amos, so that car's not as fast as it was, or previously was, maybe last time out at Silverstone, or maybe it's a small legacy from what happened yesterday in the first race when he had that off and collision with Nick Dunn. Here's two Masters, Nick Rutter against Paul Shear, and Nick almost kind of moved across a bit too soon there, and Paul Shear might have thought he was going on the grass for a second, and Nick Rutter going a little wide again, taking that wider exit on the first part of the corner, but then holds firm on the inside for the second apex for Rocket as it turns with the right-hander to defend that inside line. Of course, then if you take a tight entry into that first part, you get to set yourself up on the racing line for the second part. So you have to kind of pick your moment. There, I think it's Martin Tolley and Martin Canning having a good battle there, I think, with Kevin Sylvain and Declan Lee. So the two Go For It racing cars scrapping away with one of the Hills Motorsport machines. There's Nick Dunn with the red front bumper. There's our club class lead. And then here is Nick Rutter versus Paul Shear. There's Kevin Sylvain in the green car behind. He's taken a victory already this year in the club class before. He's the ex-Superstock 1000 bike racer. He's gone from 2 wheels to 4 and enjoying life so far in the Super Cup. Another one of the BC Cars Motorsport squad. There's behind them the pair of Go For It racing cars sandwiching Declan Lee. Just behind them is Tom Smith, and he's at the moment in a battle so far with Alex Miller in car number 7. Rest of the field goes through. We've got 5.5 minutes to go in this second MX-5 Super Cup race of the weekend. Someone's run wide on the exit of the first corner before the banking. Declan Lee a little bit further back than he'd like to be, back in 15th. He has been a regular top 5 and top 10 runner in earlier races, not just this year, but last year as well. Not really having, so far, the start to his day he was wishing for. He's graduated out of karting quite a young age into the MX-5 a couple of years ago. And since then it's just developed steadily, joined Hills Motorsport. I think it was from last year. And of course he's been with them again this year as well. new green paint scheme on that car as well. And having a good little scrap here with Martin Tolley. He's a stalwart of the MX-5 paddock. He's been around for quite a while, raced Mark 1s for several years, then jumped into the Super Cup last year. And enjoying a new challenge in this one. He's in 14th at the moment. Meanwhile, Nick Rutter it looks like he's repassed Porsche, because Porsche looks like he got back through. But then Rutter's managed to make it past and into that position. So, change around for them. Meanwhile, with the leaders, Smith and Harding sort of separated by 0.6 of a second. So we see Kevin Sylvain having a little speculative look up the inside, and I think he tried up the inside. Sheard tried to close the door as much as he could, but give him enough room to try and sneak up the inside if he wanted to. There's Tom Smith and Alex Miller just behind them. Tom Smith is the blue and white car ahead of the black and gold of Alex Miller. And meanwhile, just ahead of them, it's Sheard then, and the 118 is in the mix. Here's our leaders. Still Sam Smith ahead of Jack Harding. Jack's not right on the tail of Sam Smith like he was before, but I think ultimately he just wants to try and bank as many points as he can to hold on to this lead. So Sam Smith, who does have the fast lap of the race, so he will get 102 points for that. No, sorry, 101 points for that one, because he'll get it's a single point for fastest lap. So it'll be, if he finishes this race, he'll be on 789. Jack Harding gets another 98 points for this one. He'll be on 779, which means that the points lead will go up to 10 to Sam Smith if it stays as it is. And then Patrick Fletcher, currently sat in 3rd place, will get 96 points. He'll be on 766. John Langridge, if he finishes 4th, will get 94, which will put him on to 704. Braden Fletcher will be on... we'll work him out in a second. James Cousins will be on 90 points for his 6th position, so he was 4th, he's now 7, 4, 5. So at the moment, even though there's a few more different positions and some drivers in the top 5 and 6, it's not really going to change the top 5 very much. It's not going to change top 5 at all. It'll still be, after this race, if it stays as it is, Sam Smith ahead of Jack Harding, Patrick Fletcher 3rd in points from James Cousins and John Langridge. The spread between the top 5 will be, 75 points between them. 789 for Sam Smith compared to 704 in 5th position for John Langridge on his overall score. But Sam Smith's lead, if it stays as it is, as we said, will increase by 10. Patrick Fletcher will be, compared to Sam Smith, he'll be 23 points back with 766. So some work to do. But Sam Smith is doing everything he needs to make sure that by season's end, all the work he's putting in now ensures he keeps the number 1 on the door and can essentially keep the car looking exactly the same as it is this year. No need to change even the numbers. But I know for a fact that Jack Harding... Oh, that's Richard Amos off the road. That's the teammate to Sam Smith in the club class, and Richard he's already for watching his rivals giving him a nod, saying, "All right, boys, enjoy the rest of the race." But that's a shame, I'm afraid. Mechanical issues, Richard Amos. I wonder if it's a legacy of the contact from yesterday, because we'd say he wasn't as quick as he was in previous time. I did wonder if maybe it was something that was still lingering from his contact. There's his teammate in the Pro Class, Sam Smith, who leads. Can be quite confusing. You have to look out for the numbers on the car, because Sam Smith is car number 1, whereas Richard Amos is car number 6. But both of those cars look pretty much identical out on track. They were running together in the early stages of one of the races at Silverstone. It was quite extraordinary to see Richard Amos, who's listed as a club class driver, was up there on pretty much exactly the same pace as his pro class teammate, which is pretty impressive. So what it now means is Clive Powers has maintained the club class lead in the MX-5 Super Cup. He sits at the moment 8th overall. It's a good run for actually for Clive Powers. I'm quite impressed with the fact he's up in P8, normally outside the top 10, but having a good run so far for Clive. Second in club is now Kevin Sylvain, who won at Croft a couple of months ago at the opening rounds. And then in 3rd place in club, all the way down in 24th place overall, is Noel Robinson ahead of Scott Wright. And then rounding out the top 5 in club is Martin Heath down in 27th place. Last lap here in this second race of the Mazda MX-5 Super Cup here at Anglesey. And it's going to be Sam Smith, it seems, going on for his 2nd win of the weekend and his 3rd win of the year after he was able to pick up that win at Silverstone. Was on the podium all weekend at Croft. Got a first win at Silverstone and then a win yesterday. Looking on course for a win today. Jack Harding again continues to pursuit. Slightly wide on the exit, the first part of the complex. but he's held firm. So it's all looking good so far for Sam Smith, who will certainly be happy with the pace that he's got here this weekend. And he'll certainly hope that the pace that the form he's showing here this weekend is a signal that he really is where he wants to be with the car, with himself, with the team. It's working well. You have to remember, he took the championship last year in the Super Cup, and only his first year of racing Mark IIIs. He has been a former contender in the Mark I Championship and came close to the Mark I title back in 2018, if I remember correctly. But his championship charge ended up in a gravel trap that year at Donington Park. It didn't go that way at all for him in 2020. He managed to go up and pick up the victory in the championship. And so far, his form this weekend is showing he's on course to potentially go ahead and make it a second. Out of the final corner, it'll be a second win of the weekend and a still 100% winning record in Wales this weekend for Sam Smith, who takes victory in race number 2 in the Mazda MX-5 Super Cup. Another second place for Jack Harding, and another third place for Patrick Fletcher. Thumb out of the cockpit, he's happy with that, and also so should be John Langridge, P4 for him. Braden Fletcher, one of his personal best results. That's an excellent drive to P5. 6th place goes to James Cousins. He might be a bit not as satisfied with that as you would have hoped. And also for 7th place, how about this? From getting collected by Richard Amos at the complex at Rocket yesterday to 7th place today. Well done to Nick Dunn. Great effort to get that car back out over the night. 8th for Clive Powell, who also wins the club class contingent. And then here comes the cavalry. Nick Rutter in 9th, Martin Tolley 10th, Declan Lee is 11th. Paul Shear got dropped to 12th at the end. Ahead of Martin Canning, Alex Miller and Kevin Sylvain, who's 2nd in the club class. And it's Tom Smith, James Warrior, Christopher Richardson, Xavier Brook and Luke Whitworth. Will Morris is next in 21st in car 177. He's Seamus Haney. We've then got Robinson and Pickford side by side, and it is, I think, Robinson just behind Pickford as they came across the line side by side with 2 teammates. And it'll be Robinson who also takes 3rd place in the club class after taking a podium again yesterday as well. And it's Pickford, Wright, Stephen New, Martin Heath. There is Lee Britton, Tom Selden, who had the spin earlier on to the great Luke Herbert racing car. It's a bit of an eventful second race this morning. And then we had, after Lee Britton, Clive Chisnell, Liz Walton and Tom Selden. And we lost Paul Blackwell Chambers, sadly. He pitted right at the end of the race with a mechanical issue. So sadly what would have been potentially 6th position has sadly come to nothing. So that'll be a 0 score for Blackwell Chambers, I'm afraid. That's the way he wants to start his day here in the Super Cup after an excellent drive from 16th to 6th. We lost from that race also Richard Amos from the side of the road. George Grant, we suspect, has hit the tyre barrier, but he was out of the race too. Unfortunately, we lost Simon Fleet too on the same weekend, same lap as George Grant. Now, I don't want to put 2 and 2 together too much, but maybe there was something related there. Maybe not, but it could just be coincidentally on the same lap. But I'm not a steward or a steward or a clerk of the course. So I'm not going to speculate, and we'll let them talk it out if it needs to in the steward's office. Anyway. There are our winners heading into Parc Fermé. Top 3, once again, putting on quite a fantastic show. Some great battling in between. And it was the scrap that between Jack Harding and Sam Smith that defined the race, and certainly helped it to define it for Sam as he was able to collect that 2nd win of the weekend. 3rd of the season. And certainly racking up the points he needs to continue building that lead steadily. Slowly but surely, building up the lead. Gets the congratulations from team boss Brian Chandler, who knows all about winning a championship. Was Mark I MX-5 champion in 2015. There's Jack Harding. Who'd have thought it? Rivals over all these years, and now conversing like they've been working together for ages as team boss and team driver. But strange things happen in motorsport, but certainly Jack Harding and Luke Herbert becoming friends and then working together certainly is one of them. But good to see the partnership working well between them. 3rd place also for Patrick Fletcher again. Good strong form from him so far. Again, remember, Patrick's in an independent team, so he isn't like AB Motorsport or BC Cars or any others, but certainly happy with 3rd place. But we'll find out how happy he and the other top 2 are in the top 3 from Jamie Peters, who's down with our top 3 from the 2nd race here at Anglesey for the Mazda MX-5 Super Cup.
So another fantastic BRSCC Mazda MX-5 Super Cup race. Your race winner was Sam Smith. Let's bring Sam over. He's done a double so far. Another great race for you.
Yeah, it seemed to go really well, that one. Jack got the jump on me at the start, fair enough, and then I felt pretty comfortable. You know straight away really how comfortable you're going to be, and I felt fairly comfortable, just a matter of getting past him really.
Fantastic. And race 3 coming up, you going to try and do the triple?
I'll do what I can. I'm always here to win, but it's going to rain. I don't like the rain, but we'll see what we can do.
Excellent stuff, well done. Second place was Jack Harding. Jack, you got the jump on the start, but nevertheless it's still a good result for you, but of course race 3 it'll be all guns out to go for the win.
Yeah, you know, I actually preferred that race. I know it's always nice to win, but it was, you know, a good clean race for me and Sam. You know, I looked and brake up the top because we were just so level pegging up there. Every time I got a good run onto the straight, Sam's just a rocket in a straight line. I don't know whether we've got a bit of an issue or what, but when we're in his toe we can't seem to catch, but when he's in ours he's absolutely phenomenal. So I had to keep trying to outbrake him, and obviously it backfired eventually, but car feels alright, you know. Massive thanks to Luke Herbert Racing, they're doing a great job with the car. I just think that we've got a fault somewhere, or we're just a little bit down on power somewhere, so we'll figure it out, and we'll if we don't get the result we want in race 3, I'm sure we'll come back stronger next round. So yeah, all good.
Fantastic, well done Jack. Third place was Braden Fletcher, and another top 3 for him. He's just sorting his mask out. That was a busy second race for you, wasn't it? You were battling away for the full 20 minutes. I bet that absolutely flew by for you.
Yeah, well, to be honest, Jack got a good start and had the lead of the race, and then I thought it'd be a good race, and to be honest I fell off the back of those two, and then Sam caught Jack up and they had a good battle, good old ding dong. Saw a couple of good moves going into Rocket and a few other parts of the track, and I thought if they keep battling I might be able to get involved, because I didn't feel too strong at the beginning of that race. But to be honest, after that they stopped battling, and Sam just pulled a gap to Jack, and Jack just pulled away from me. And then I saw John Langridge was very quick behind me, so I was just focusing on not making any mistakes and keeping the third position.
So you were trying to be the hunter and be the hunted at the same time?
Yeah, I didn't feel like I was too far in hunt mode at the moment on that race. To be honest, the two in front just had a little bit more than me today. But we'll see what happens in the third race.
Excellent stuff, well done. That's your top 3 for the BRSCC Mazda MX-5 Super Cups.